Yes, this is Mr. Controversy, and this is the infamous three-point conversion station. Keep it locked.
In this episode, we discuss, oh my goodness, football is back. That's what we're discussing. Football is back. Preseason game in the books. Browns win 30-10. We will discuss and break that down for you. We also have some breaking news for you with Antonio Callaway, the Duke Johnson trade, and just a special rant by my man Eric, a.k.a. Stoshball. Hope you enjoy the show, and make sure you subscribe to Brownstown USA to never miss an episode. And without further ado, here we go. With your wings on the wind, all the things will begin. And it's sweet, sweet, sweet victory. And it's ours for the taking. It's ours
from coast to coast, representing all of the Dog Pound. In victory formation, this is the Brownstown USA podcast, powered by the three-point conversion. I'm Eric, and over in the driver's seat right now is L.A. L.A.?
You see me rolling. They hate. No, I'm just playing. Nah, but for real, man, I am extremely hyped. Thank you for listening to Brownstown USA. As always, we are powered by the three-point conversion. Three-point conversion where fans' opinions matter. Make sure you hop over to the threepointconversion.com. Check it out. Articles. A lot of Browns articles coming out now. Me and Eric are ramped up, and we're going to start pumping them out as much as possible. So we got it for you. As well as the MLB season starting to heat up even more as we get closer to the playoffs and all of that. WNBA, Big Three, we got it. Got you covered. Also follow the three-point conversion at 3PTCNVRSN on all your social media networks and platforms. So, Eric, I mean, look, man, I I forgot how it feels to wake up, and just smell the air and just know that the Browns not only won but handled business. And I know we're going to get into it a little bit later, but it could have been so much more uglier for the Redskins as well. Because we have some missed opportunities, to be honest with you. But honestly, man, let's get to what's hot right now. What's hot right now?
Wait, can you hold on? I smell weed.
Here we go. Oh, my gosh. I didn't know you were going to do that to me, man. I did not know. But, of course, you're a goofball, a.k.a. Stoshball. So, look, breaking news. Ian Rappaport was the one that broke it for NFL Network. However, the Browns did come out and make a statement as well. But Antonio Callaway has been suspended for 4 games without pay to start the season. He is eligible to come back on the roster, I believe, September 20th. That's after we play the Baltimore Ravens. He is eligible to come back. He is eligible to participate in preseason practices and games, much like Kareem Hunt. Now, Eric, man, look, I can't say that I'm surprised by this Callaway news at all. We already kind of had our arrow a little bit down on him because of how he came into camp, how he was looking there. But then he started to come on strong a little bit later on and towards the final days leading up to the preseason game. So, before we dive in deeper or go any further than that, I just want to get your thoughts on this Antonio Callaway situation. How are you feeling? What's going through your mind right now?
Well, the first thing that's going through my mind is, one, I'm surprised that this didn't happen last year. I mean, keep in mind last year was was when everyone was expecting it after the whole that situation, driving with the suspended license, as well as finding marijuana, even though he wasn't necessarily using it. Like, we talked about this a lot last year, almost a year ago, believe it or not. So it's not surprising. That said, it brings up one question in my mind, something that's been in my head since you first got the news out onto the three-point conversion page, and that is the low tolerance policy that was in effect last year going to carry over into this year now? I mean, we know that Josh Gordon and Antonio Callaway both had it after their various problems. So is it carrying over, or is it just going to be just left in the past for last year that could get retroactive now that this has happened?
Here, look, let me read you this tweet real quick that I just came across and get your thoughts on it before I give my, some more of my opinions on this subject. But a tweet by Michael Robinson, he actually said, it's crazy how NFL players still get in trouble for marijuana, yet it's recreationally legal in 11 states and medically illegal in 33.
Mm-hmm.
While real drugs like Toradol and Endocin, I guess that's how you pronounce it, are still allowed. Very, very interesting tweet, and I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on that.
I'll be honest with you. I am not a pot guy. I don't care for it. If you smoke it, that's fine with me and personally, but my personal thought is just don't smoke it. I mean, I will be completely honest with you. If you go to some place that does do randomized testing, it doesn't matter if it's legal someplace, if it's not legal, all that stuff. It doesn't matter. I hate to say it, but if you're getting paid to do a job and you can't do it because you got busted doing something, doesn't matter if it's legal or not, you got busted doing something wrong, so you got to pay some kind of consequence. I think it's silly that it's still being banned, but at this point, it's still banned. Please follow the rules, because we've seen this happen quite a few times, but the fact is, rules are rules.
Yeah, I think it's really stupid that it's still a thing, especially for the medical side of it. A lot of these players are dealing with depression, anxiety, and stuff like that. And as a person personally that constantly battles with that, I get it. I'm not a marijuana guy either. I've tried it. It has not been for me. Certain people have told me, well, maybe you need to do it this way or maybe you need to do it that way. Hasn't ever caught on for me. But I understand and I've seen the benefits that it's had for certain people. Now, I know you can get into the whole, it's an addiction, and you're still dependent on something. We're not really talking about all that and getting that deep. We're just talking about the generalization of it. And, again, I see the effects of what hard medicine does to a body, the liver, the kidneys, all that other good stuff. And then I see what marijuana does to the body. It's pretty much right there in front of your face, regardless of how you feel about it or not. And I honestly feel that it is kind of stupid that, they are still getting suspended for that. But to your point, you're right. I cannot sit up there and go and say to my job that just hired me or whatever, and they say that they have a zero tolerance drug policy, and I pop hot for marijuana, and they're not going to care. I mean, that's their rules. That's what they said. So until it changes, you just got to live by it. And there's been plenty of people that have lived by it in the past. I mean, remember, the NFL is a huge organization with a lot of people in it. Dude, you're not the only case of somebody that's struggling with something like that. And you can follow the rules just like everybody else. Like, I mean, there's other people that, of course, will go that route and pop hot as well. But then there's other people that have lived the straight and narrow and has made Hall of Fame careers out of it. So I really don't want to hear that part of it, from him. Now, again, Eric, we know. And like we said, we weren't surprised, right? Because he has had off-the-field issues stemming back to college. And then again, last year, even though the charges were dropped, it was still a situation. To be honest with you, Eric, the one thing that I pulled out from this whole thing is that, guess what? This has nothing to do with like a Josh Gordon situation. Because back then, we didn't have anybody. We had nobody. So we were hanging on to every single limb of Josh Gordon and what he did and how he breathed and whatever he did, right? But with this one, and again, I want to see this kid do well because he has a ton of talent. But doesn't it feel refreshing to know that this is not a detriment to our season, or, we have to get on the air and discuss, well, 4 games, man, hopefully we can go 2-2 or, something like that out of the 4 games. Isn't it refreshing?
It really is. I mean, one of the things that I think people are going to have to also realize is this is the first time in a while that we've had such depth at the wide receiver position. I mean, to your credit, I mean, even if you, let's say, Odell Beckham Jr. injured himself and Jarvis started to struggle. Knock on wood, they don't, but let's say that happens. You still have Rashard Higgins, who we'll get to quite a bit later. You still have Ridley, and you still have Ratley. You have a lot of people. The problem is you still want to have your best talent forward.
Absolutely. So, any closing thoughts on this Callaway thing before we take a break and then come back?
My closing thought really is it's nothing really too much to worry about. The only time that you really need to worry about it, because kids make mistakes and they do this type of stuff. He messed up last year, he messed up this year. As long as he learns from it, there's nothing wrong with it. Now, if this becomes a habitual thing, like we start seeing him become Josh Gordon, then we got an issue.
Yeah, I feel you on the whole mistake thing, but I think this one here kind of makes me a little bit more mad than last year. And the reason being is this. And you've been around these guys all summer. We already know the type of hype that is coming into this season. And you see it there, and you know this is going to be a special season. And then for you to allow something like this to get in your way kind of pisses me off a little bit more than what happened, last year. Because, again, last year it was like we were still trying to figure stuff out. And, there was probably some people on the team that didn't need to be on the team and in that locker room. But it's like, it seems like this year, it's like, come on, man. Like, we're all trying to do something special. And, I was listening to Cleveland Browns Daily earlier today, and, Zagura and them was kind of ticked off too, because they were just like, look, man, we had nothing but good things to say on air, and then all of a sudden, boom, here we go with this. So it's like, dude, this is a happy train, man. We're all hype. We're all trying to do good things, and then you let something like this creep in. I'm a little bit more perturbed about this one than I was with him doing something last year. So those are the 2 cents on Antonio Callaway. Again, Antonio Callaway has been suspended for 4 games to start the season. He will be eligible to return back on the active roster September 20th. John Dorsey came out and made a statement basically on him, saying that he talked to Antonio, him and Freddie did. They let him know where they stood. As long as he keeps exhibiting that he wants help and continues to take advantage of the team's facilities and their programs, they will stick by his side. So we will see how long that lasts, and we will go from there. So look, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, there was a trade that happened, and we haven't had a chance to go on air and discuss our thoughts on it. So we will get to that, and then we will get to this preseason game that was just so good, so good, so good. So again, you're listening to Brownstown USA, powered by the 3-point conversion. We will be right back.
So the Redskins will punt it away to the Browns. And it is Sheehy Giuseppe feeling it inside the 15, and he gets one block, and he's gone. And he is gone. Taking it the distance for the touchdown is Sheehy Giuseppe on a terrific special teams play. And now Freddie can smile because he has seen all of the units do their thing. And do you think they're happy for Sheehy or not?
Yeah. And we are back, Brownstown, USA. And as always, we are here, powered by the 3-point conversion, where fans' opinions matter. Make sure you guys follow Brownstown, USA, guys. We are on all your social media platforms at Brownstown, USA. We're growing, we're getting better, and we want you along with us on this journey. And again, if you like the show, subscribe, hit the 5-star rating. It helps us out to get our show out there to the masses. We are doing this from the love of our heart. So don't think that, oh, man, this is a money grab, because it's not. We're just doing it because we love you guys. So, anywho, yes, I'm singing Kumbayas and stuff, Eric. That's what I'm doing. But
I'm not paid enough for this.
yeah, we're not paid at all. So, look, man, we had a trade go down. Duke Johnson, Houston Texans, initially a conditional 4th-round draft pick. The condition is that it can't turn into a 3rd-rounder if Duke stays active for 10 games straight. Not something that we should be too worried about because Duke hasn't really missed a game in his entire career. But he wasn't that utilized either. So, anywho, yeah. So Duke traded to the Houston Texans. Eric, I want to get your thoughts on this as far as, one, how does this, how do you feel about our team going ahead and John Dorsey pulling this move off? And then 2, and I know this is something that most people don't think about, but I still like Duke. So how do you feel that he will like the move to the Texans as well? So I want to get your thoughts on those.
Well, I'm actually going to go in reverse order, if I may. I think he's going to like going to the Texans, first of all, because of the guy that's going to be playing in front of him. I mean, not for nothing, Lamar Miller is coincidentally the guy that Duke replaced at the University of Miami, if you remember. So I think that Miami connection is there. He's going to have a quarterback that can run the option, which is something that the bigger college football programs run. I think Duke will like this move ultimately. Plus, he's going to a contender still. I mean, don't get it twisted. Houston is still one of the top teams in the AFC until proven otherwise. He's going to a situation where he can compete for the number 2 job. He's got a lot of young guys behind him, so the fact of the matter is, good move for Duke. I'll give him that. As for where it puts us, there's 2 ways I look at it. First off, we have the now, if you will. I think that, in all honesty, this is going to be a situation where Cleveland's going to have to determine their 3rd down back very quickly, because from last night's game, there was some stuff I could point out. I'll save it for later, but Hilliard was okay. He wasn't as great as a lot of us expected. He's been a workhorse in camp, but he's been okay from what we've seen, at least in the pre-season. Now, the bigger question is the future, and this is what I love about this pick. I was doing some research into this earlier. So we get a 4th-round pick that could turn into a 3rd-rounder. Think about this. John Dorsey's 4th-round pick, his best one came last year with Antonio Callaway. However, his 3rd-round picks include the following: Travis Kelce, Steven Nelson, Kareem Hunt, and then Chad Thomas, who's just starting to wake up right now, who's had a good camp and had a pretty good preseason game yesterday, but that's beside the point. I'm feeling comfortable with Dorsey having that pick. So that's just my 2 cents.
Absolutely. Good pick. Again, Dorsey is a wizard, and he does what he does when it comes to these picks, so I am definitely loving that part of it. Again, this is probably the highest compensation, as I've seen multiple times. This is the highest compensation for a running back since Trent Richardson was traded to the Colts for a 1st-rounder. Also, too, if you think about it, Duke has never been a featured back on our team. So to be able to get a pick that high, and he has not been a featured back for a 3rd down back, that is absolutely amazing. So I'm not mad at it at all. I still want to let people know that Duke is a good football player. So and I know how Browns fans are. They want to trash the guy after he gets traded or leave or vocalizes that he doesn't want to be here and stuff like that. Look, people have opinions. They have different fits. Not everybody is a fit for Cleveland. And I know how attached we get to our players, but it's just something that's a realization. But Duke is a good football player, to be honest with you, and he was talented. And I am gonna miss the prospect of seeing him in this offense because we've seen, yesterday, and we'll get into this more, but that underneath to the running back is wide the freak open. And I think Duke would have absolutely flourished in this offense. So that's one of the things that I'm kind of sad about, just thinking like, man, well, we won't get to see Duke and see how Freddie Kitchens said that he was going to use the heck out of him and everything. We won't get to see it. But he didn't want to be here. And it is what it is. And, Kitchens came out in the presser, gave a fantabulous, and yes, I did come up with that word, fantabulous, response to the Duke trade rumor, or to the Duke trade, saying that he wishes him the best, man. And it is what it is, and just a classy move by Freddie there.
Right. Even Baker came out and was classy about it as well. You can't trash the guy. I mean, he wanted to get more playing time, so I can't give the guy that much crap about it. But you know what? As much as it hurts, I got no problem with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, moving on, let's dive into this preseason game last night. We saw the Cleveland Browns go up against the Washington Redskins. Of course, they dominated in great fashion, in Browns fashion, 30-10. What was it? Let's see. Well, no, let's hop into our hype or gripe, okay? And ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't heard about this, hype or gripe is basically a situation where we get excited about a player, so we're hype about him, so we name off that player. And then, of course, gripe, meaning what player didn't do too well, so we're gonna gripe and we're gonna complain about him. Eric, who we're gonna go bad to good. So whom, meaning multiple, makes your gripe list to this week?
This one's gonna be hard to say right here, but my gripe player is actually Dontrell Hilliard. Yeah, Dontrell Hilliard. I mean, my thing is this: you're a professional running back in the NFL. 4th and 1. Now, don't get me wrong. The play calling and at that moment was just atrocious with the 2 pass plays. Actually, the run stop, and then if you're at the 1 yard line, you got to take the ball and you just got to pump it in. Nope, he gets stripped right at the line. Now, I know a lot of people were saying, or probably are saying, well, what about Hyman? That play was just as bad.
Don't take up all the gripes now, man.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying.
Quit being greedy.
But my thing is the difference between Hyman and Hilliard is when you're a wide receiver, you were given a little bit more wiggle room to hold the ball that loose, especially since if you're crossing like that, it's harder to get the second hand there. As a running back, if you're just punching it up the gut like that, you can't let go of the ball like that. Not for nothing, I don't care that he had a decent chunk of yardage. When you fumble like that, man, you better go do some laps.
Yeah, Kitchens was definitely pissed off about that. Very pissed off about that, and should be. I mean, that's points. That was points that we had an opportunity. They decided to go for it on 4th and 1, but that's points basically just gone, and then a turnover, and you got to win the turnover battle. As far as my gripes, I got 2 players for you. Number 1, man, is Drew Stanton. Drew Stanton, to me, did not look like that typical backup quarterback that we wanted to see. He was not sharp all night. He had maybe 2 good throws, maybe out of all of that. But 66 quarterback rating, 3 for 8, with completions and attempts. Just didn't look good at all. Look very rattled, and that's not a good sight to see when ultimately you gotta open up your mind and think like, okay, what if Baker does go down for a game or 2 or something like that, and we need to continue to keep rolling with this season? Who's gonna come in? And Stanton didn't help me out there. Another one was Greedy Williams. Greedy, yes, he did have an interception, but he also had a just complete mind-blowing coverage. Hearing from the X and O guys, he apparently thought he was in cover 2, but he was supposed to be in cover 3 or something like that, and he let the guy run right past him because he felt a safety would be back there to help him out. But ultimately, you never let a guy really run past you, and it was just completely blown, and they were able to score off of that play. So if that didn't happen, we're looking at the Redskins only putting up 3 points throughout the entire night against our first, second, and third and fourth units. So definitely rookie mistake, Greedy. You're trying to go up and be the the starting corner on the opposite side of Denzel Ward. You can't have those kind of mental mistakes. Denzel really didn't have those big giant mental mistakes like that, and so it sucks. But I definitely didn't like that from Greedy at all. Now, on a good note, who is your hype player or players?
I want to say it was Mac Wilson, but because he just was on fire. But there's one person that I think definitely deserved it in my book. And it was a guy that played almost only the first half, really, maybe a quarter and a half, and that was Rashard Higgins. I'm going to be honest. The guy had flypaper for hands. The guy was catching everything. And
5 receptions, 98 yards, 1 touchdown, almost another touchdown if he wouldn't have got stopped, on that one particular play. But, 5 receptions, 98 yards, and a touchdown.
And this is one thing that I remember last year talking about with a lot of people. A lot of people wanted Higgins gone last year, if you remember, at the beginning of the year. They wanted to bring back Ricardo Lewis, who Lewis ended up going down hurt. And truth be told, I don't think he's ever recovered from it. He's in Miami now, but I think he's still recouping a little bit. But
absolutely.
I'll be honest, Rashard Higgins he was electric last year, and I'm going to be honest, if last night was a preview of what's to come, the guy's going to be a star.
Absolutely. For my hype player, I'm going to go with actually a quick commercial break. So when we come back, I will get into my hype players. We'll talk a little bit more about the game, and then Eric has a special rant for you guys. So this is Brownstown USA, powered by the 3-point conversion. We will be right back.
The opportunity of what he can do with the young man. That one is thrown into the wrong direction. Picked off and taken all the way into the end zone for a touchdown. What a terrific play by Mac Wilson. And here's a guy who we talked at length about in the preseason. 3 interceptions in the last 4 days of practice. Dwayne Haskins never saw him.
And we are back, Brownstown, USA. And as always, we are powered by the 3-point conversion. Myself, LA, and across from me is my man Eric, a.k.a. Stoshball, as always. And we are just breaking down our hype and gripe players from the night before in that absolutely great win by the Browns over the Redskins. Eric gave his hype players. I'm going to give mine now. Eric, hype player, man. Honestly, there was just so many cool things going on out there. Of course, we could talk about the Sheehy punt return touchdown, and then also finding out that he was wearing OBJ's cleats. That was a pretty little fun story there. But just looking at everything, because, I texted to some guys yesterday, and I said, you know what? The Browns look really serious this year. And they were like, oh, it's preseason, man, chill. And I'm like, no, I didn't go into this preseason game giving a spank about the score at all. I went into this game looking for certain things. And one of the things is depth. We have depth. Because before, our ones would look shaky, but our 2s and 3s would just look like they didn't belong in the NFL at all, right? So, it's like, man, it's amazing. But I do want to give a shout out to the running backs, because even though they didn't really have a big night on the ground, the way that passing game is opened up because of the fact that all the defenders are guarding all our great talented wide receivers, that underneath is just completely open. I still remember a series, going back to that Baker series where Chubb, big catch out of the backfield. Daggone Hilliard, 2-3 big catches out of the backfield. I mean, these jokers were just carving them up when it came to being able to have that underneath opened up wide. Another guy that came on for me too was Jalen Strong. I think he has a very, very good opportunity to make some noise in this receiver group, especially now with Callaway being on the outs right now. I think Jalen Strong has a very, very good point to make behind Rashard Higgins. And he's a big guy and very talented. So I'm very excited about that as well, man. And then also too, just looking at our coverage and everything of being able to, it's kind of like we gave up some plays, but then at the same time, like we were able to get turnovers. So I still see that there from us, like how we, how we were last year, where it's kind of that bend but don't break. But this year's defense, it's like we're not even trying to bend really, and we're still getting takeaways. So just very exciting, man. And like I said, overall to me, this game was about depth, and that's the ticket right there, depth, man. It's like on the offensive side, on the defensive side. And then let me get your thoughts on this real quick, because I know I've been ranting for a little bit. Garrett Gilbert, what was your opinion on him? What did you see from him? And do you really think he has a legitimate shot to take over that number 2 spot?
I want to say yes, but the problem is Freddie already came out and said that Stanton's going to be number 2, which, don't get me wrong, Stanton is serviceable, but the problem is if Gilbert gives you the best shot to win as a backup, wouldn't you rather have him in there? I mean, we didn't get a chance to see enough David Blau, in my opinion, but you know what? We know Gilbert was a good quarterback in the AAF, so
yeah, he's on the MVP season.
Yeah, so if that's the case, next game, I don't really want to see Baker out there for that long. Like, I'd give him maybe a quarter, but maybe have Gilbert as the number 2 instead of Stanton right now.
And I think we will see that, especially since this week is unique. The Browns travel to the Indianapolis Colts training facility, and they're going to do joint practices with them. And I think because we're doing joint practices, Kitchens may see what he needs to not feel like he needs to put his starters out there for the preseason game necessarily. And so, therefore, you will see more Gilbert, more Blau, I think, in this preseason game than anything, because we have these joint practices. But Gilbert, I mean, initially you could tell he was nervous because it's like his first NFL game. But at the same time, actually, I don't think it's his first NFL game.
No, he played in preseason games before, but this was really his first real look under a microscope.
Right, like his hoorah and coming back into the league. But, man, he has an arm on him. He's a big dude, and he has some flashes there, man. Of course, he needs to learn some things. But, I mean, 14 to 22, 135 yards. He can – I think he can be a serviceable backup to us. And this is kind of the reason why I believe that not only with Kitchens, being shell-shocked from, having his quarterbacks go down in Arizona, but one of the main reasons why, too, that they may, that they're going to probably go ahead and hold on to 3 quarterbacks, and why Blau was looking, from the outside in, with trying to get a roster spot. I really don't see him, beating out Garrett or Stanton, of course. So that's going to be crazy. Now, as we wrap this up, the preseason game, any final thoughts on that? Anything else that you saw from this game that jumped out to you?
There were a couple things. One, the defensive line just looked phenomenal. I mean, as I mentioned before, So it was mentioned on the broadcast I was listening to, because I was listening on the Browns app. Great app if you haven't downloaded it yet. But I was listening to it, and one of the things that did stick out was, while they were praising the defensive line, there were two names that kept popping up. Devereaux Lawrence, who he was Dwayne Haskins' worst enemy last night. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the hit that Haskins took, there's an outline of him still on the turf at First Energy Stadium. And then Chad Thomas, who they were giving a lot of praise for. The guy has had a really good preseason. I mean, we've only heard the bad about him when he was sick and, of course, with the fight with the fans that were heckling him. But everyone, including Doug Deacon, Nathan Zagura, was praising his preseason. So he's doing something right. And the other thing I do want to know and bring up is it me, or is this idea of a 4-2-5 really growing on you? I mean, not going to lie, I loved it because the defense looked more in sync. They looked tighter. It looked really, really good. I mean, it's compared to last year when we were running a 4-3 and we always had somebody that was getting blown out, it seemed. Like, whether it was somebody got past Terrence Mitchell, someone got past Ward, and we were giving up too many yards on the ground. It just looked like a much tighter defense, and that's what you need, especially after the mistakes from last year.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was kind of nervous about the 4-2-5 as well. I think I ran it a couple times, like in video games and stuff, and it was just always kind of like hard to. I don't know what it was. Maybe I just didn't have the right personnel, but it seems like we have the right personnel. Just refreshing to see how athletic our linebackers are, with Taki being out there. Of course, Wilson putting on a show, a clinic. Kirksey being glad to be back out there. Just to let everybody know, in case you didn't hear, Joe Schobert wasn't at the game yesterday because his wife is in labor. I'm still waiting to see if they actually had the baby yet. But yeah, that's why Joe Schobert wasn't at the game. So, like I said, again, we threw up a 30-burger. It could have been 40. But this was without Jarvis, without Odell, without a lot of top stars in the game, and we did that. So be proud, be happy. I don't care if it's a preseason game or not. Be happy because we have depth on this team, and you can be excited about this team. We've sucked for so long. It's so bad, and conversations after a preseason game or even going into the season, we're just so different than what we are having now. So I'm just hyped about that, Eric, to be honest with you. Kind of looking around the AFC North real quick before I let you get to your rant. The Baltimore Ravens played yesterday and won their game pretty convincingly. 29-0. And Pittsburgh plays tonight at 7:30. And the Cincinnati Bengals play tomorrow at 8 o'clock, in case you're keeping up with the rest of the AFC North, which you should, because Lamar actually looked pretty good yesterday, throwing-wise. I think it was like 7 for 8 with a touchdown. So, I mean, yeah, it's preseason or whatever, and I'm not sure who all played for the Jaguars defense when he went out there, because I didn't actually watch the game. I'm just looking at the stats. So, yeah, keep an eye on the rest of the AFC North, guys. But with that being said, it is time for Eric's rant. Eric, the floor is yours.
All right, you know the drill. I got a limited amount of time to go ahead and rant on something. So when LA gives me the starting gun, well, I'll go ahead and do it. And go ahead, give me that countdown. 3, 2, 1, go. So I understand that it's preseason, but we're in the midst of a kicking battle. And so far, you know what the most common thing I saw was? Get rid of Greg Joseph. Get rid of Greg Joseph. Guy missed one kick yesterday. One kick. And in the past week, including the Brown and Orange scrimmage, he only has missed one kick, as opposed to Siebert. You want to go ahead and get Matt Bryant? Go ahead. I'm pretty sure he couldn't handle Cleveland's wins. Look, the kicking market's weak right now. There's a couple good names, but I'd rather go with Greg Joseph at this point, personally. Please just let the guy compete and let him do his job. Cut the crap with the cutting.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. That was Eric's rant. Yeah, kind of to respond to that. Look, I was pretty tough on kickers, still probably will be. But at the same time, when I heard the great Phil Dawson come out and say that First Energy was one of the toughest stadiums to kick in because of just the way it's constructed and the winds and everything like that in there, it kind of made me a little bit more compassionate. Now, I said it kind of. So I'm not fully compassionate, but just kind of. But you got to get it in order. If I'm Greg Joseph, I am definitely reaching out to Phil, trying to get as much as I can, from him, pick his brain, because Phil, the crazy thing about him and looking at his interview and stuff like that is that it was so much more to him than just kicking. It was like a science. And it was about ball placement. It was about, wind speeds, everything, man. He put his heart and soul into it. But also, too, he was a football player. And that is how they described Phil Dawson. They said that he was a football player that was a kicker. And normally it's the other way around. And that's very rare. Like, he spent time with everybody. So I would take a little bit from that. And this, of course, take what you want. You don't have to be completely Phil Dawson. But take what you want and then kind of go from there, And but this whole kicking thing, it's really annoying to even have to continue to discuss it because we have so much talent on this team and we have so many big aspirations, to win the AFC North and all this other stuff. So I don't want to continue to have kicking conversations. So please, guys, get it together. And our punters are good, at least, I guess. So, but look, great rant as always, Eric. Great show. Any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
Not really, actually. Let's just keep it up.
All right, guys. So as you know, with the Browns schedule coming up, they practiced today in Berea. I think they should be wrapping up pretty soon. But they travel to the Indianapolis Colts next week to have joint practices. So it should be for must-see TV. If you have NFL Network, they normally do broadcasts inside the training camp during the day. So you should be able to catch some good footage from it. And then we go and take on the Colts in the preseason game on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So, again, keep it locked on Brownstown USA. We will have all your Browns news. Hop over to 3pointconversion.com to check out Browns news over there with articles by myself and my man Eric, a.k.a. Stoshball. We're doing our thing over there. So make sure you check everything out as well. Social media at 3PTCNVRSN. And, of course, follow us at Brownstown USA on all your social media. And, again, if you like the show, make sure you give us a subscribe so you never miss an episode. Give us a 5-star rating. It will definitely help us out to get the show out to the masses. We thank you again for joining us on Brownstown USA. And until next week, we bid you adieu.
Take care.
Got an old stadium seat in front of my TV. Footballs and jerseys as far as you can see. An orange helmet lamp on my nightstand. My friends refer to me as crazy football fan. You know I like my football. I dress in orange and brown. I am a lifetime member of the Dog Pound. I watch them every Sunday go when they're in town. You know I like my football. Love my Cleveland Browns. Love my Cleveland Browns. Love my Cleveland Browns.